So I've been working at a tech startup for almost a year now. I started off as an intern last year for the data science department, and at the time I was very worried if I made the right choice by picking the startup. I was privileged enough to have several opportunities to pick from, but I decided on the startup after talking to the team, understanding their core values, and overall understanding the opportunity cost of missing out. So yeah, since it's almost been a year, I wanted to reflect back and share my experiences and challenges that I faced during my time here. This is going to be a more laid back and personal video, so go ahead and grab your coffee or tea, chill out, relax, and grab a snack and enjoy the rest of the video. The first thing I want to talk about is pay. I get a lot of questions from friends, classmates, followers, and family about the pay at a startup versus a larger company, so I wanted to share my experience. I'll cut right to the chase. When I first started as an intern, the pay was considerably lower compared to the other offers I got. I mentioned in one of my previous videos talking about the salary offers I got for my internship last year, and the pay range ranged from about $17 an hour up to about $35 an hour, and I can tell you that the salary for this specific startup internship was on the lower end of that spectrum. However, the conversations I had with the director of data, the data team, the leadership team, and the hiring manager during the recruiting process was just so interesting and too good to pass out on. As some of you might know, my internship there lasted just below 3 months. I was offered a full-time position shortly into my internship. The offer was for a mid-level position within the data team, which for me was pretty surprising at the time. I was still in school studying data science with 0 full-time experience, but the job description had a requirement of 3+ years full-time experience. The base salary on the offer I received reflected that experience level, so it was well above average. This is just my personal feedback for the startup I work for specifically. I've heard other feedback that contradicts this information from other people, so take that into account. I think I got pretty lucky, or maybe I brought in a unique set of skills that they found value in. Generally though, depending on the startup you're looking at, whether it be a Series A, Series B, or Series C, the pay can fluctuate dramatically. I also noticed that the benefits they use was slightly unique and designed to make you sign that offer. They might use terms like unlimited PTO, give you stock options or RSUs, just to make the offer more attractive. Honestly, I don't really have an opinion on this. I think as long as you have a baseline in mind when it comes to sick days, minimum PTO, insurance, and stuff like that, as long as they meet those baselines, I think that's sufficient for me. I found out pretty quickly that the unlimited PTO structure isn't really unlimited. However, that didn't really affect me since I planned to gain as much experience as I could during my time here. Another thing with startups is generally they don't really have many entry-level positions, or at least that's what I noticed. So yeah, if you're looking to get into a startup, you might need to elevate your skill set or do a lot of networking to get your foot in the door. Another thing I wanted to talk about is the pace at a startup. Now this might be obvious to some of you, but more often than not, it's usually very fast-paced. It's usually a lot of short deadlines, urgent tasks, quick turnaround expectations, and product launches, stuff like that. I think it also depends on the startup you're working at. Ours specifically tends to peak during April to about October. So yeah, I guess you have to get used to the rough working schedule. Sometimes you have to work about 60 to 80 hour weeks, so that can take some time to get used to. I also get asked pretty frequently if burnout is a thing in startups, and I can't speak for everyone, but me personally, I've definitely experienced burnout here and there. Generally though, I think it's just bound to happen regardless if you're doing schoolwork or working a full-time job. Personally, I felt burnout a lot of times during my life from different seasons, so you just get used to it eventually, and your threshold of burnout or threshold of work capacity increases over time. So that's something I've been getting used to, and I think now my focus and just my workload capacity has increased over time. I don't mean that in a bad way. I just think burnout is pretty normal. I think everyone has to experience it at some point in their life. I think it's pretty exaggerated though when it comes to startups. I think one way to manage burnout is working on personal projects or things that you actually are interested in. This is one of the big differences between working at a startup or a larger company. I think for larger companies, you're focused on doing a small section of a larger product or a project that the company wants you to work on. However, if you're working for a startup, you have more freedom to choose your projects as long as it's driven to help the company reach its company mission or annual goals. Our company specifically follows an EOS or traction system, so we get to choose some of our rocks each quarter, which can definitely help when it comes to burnout or reducing tension. The next thing I want to talk about is growth. A big reason I chose working at a startup is because I wanted to grow as much as I could within a short period of time. I personally got very lucky when it came to mentors. I had really good mentors last year during my internship. One was a data analyst and one was a data engineer, and they both brought unique experiences that they shared to me, which helped me become a better person, also a better data scientist. Within 2 months, I was able to get up and running with a new BI tool, create models and dashboards from scratch, and I also learned about the ETL we had, all the data management systems and data engineering systems within our ETL. I was able to manage it completely after our data engineer left, which was pretty neat. I came into this internship with close to zero experience when it came to data engineering, so learning all that within a short period of time was pretty impressive to me. I also learned a lot when it came to machine learning and data science, which was obviously my main focus. Since we had a pretty small data team, I was able to work directly with the director of data science. I was basically able to be a sponge and learn as much as possible when it comes to things that they don't teach you in school, such as how to test data in the real world, how to build POC apps for other departments, how to deploy models or productionize models, how to learn cloud ops tools, or when to use a specific tool over another one when it comes to costs or scalability, stuff like that you don't really learn at school. I guess to put it in simple terms, I was given the freedom to do basically whatever I wanted as long as it was directionally positive in terms of the company goals, and I was given the trust and support by my team and my mentors to do that. So I think that allowed me the opportunity to grow a lot when it comes to data science, data engineering, BI, and also machine learning, which is pretty sick. And I was able to work closely with different teams, across the board, marketing, product, engineering, stuff like that. So I was able to learn the domain and also our app specifically. If you know me, I like to learn things through applications, so I like to get my hands dirty and break things and rebuild them. And this company provided me with that opportunity, so I was able to learn very quickly and very effectively, if I might say so myself. Oh yeah, my offer letter also included a professional development budget, so I used that to learn new things outside of the company, such as courses and conferences that I could go to, which was pretty neat. So yeah, I guess if your goal is to wear multiple hats or learn new things, I think the startup is the best choice for you. When it comes to startup culture, I've heard a lot of good and bad things about it, so I kind of had mixed feelings going into this internship. However, I think our company lies in the better end of the spectrum. We have 5 core values that I think almost everyone is aligned with. My personal favorite is transparency, and I think it's a pretty big deal here. Just like any other company, things break, people make mistakes, and issues arise. However, I noticed that here, they tend to be very transparent and talk about these issues publicly across the whole company so that everyone's aware and can do their job better. One thing I personally wanted coming in was not to be a fly on the wall, and here everyone tends to have a voice. We're also a fully remote company, so there's a lot of flexibility when it comes to, schedule and meetings and stuff like that. Deadlines are always urgent and it's usually very fast paced. So if you're not used to that, or if you're not organized as a person, then maybe this isn't for you. But yeah, culture-wise, I think it's hard to speak across other startups. However, working here, I think the culture is very positive. However, there are times where, you get too sucked into work and you don't really have a work-life balance. But yeah, overall, I think it's a very people-first company. Like I said before, they offered me a full-time job while I was still in school, taking classes full-time. So they were very accommodating when it came to my schedule and my, schooling needs. So yeah, my personal experience with startup culture at this startup was amazing, but I'm not sure about the other startups out there. One thing I wanted to mention though is the turnover. Within my time here, I've seen quite a number of people get laid off or let go. This is usually due to compensation disagreements or performance issues, stuff like that. However, I think overall we have a pretty good retention rate when it comes to startups in general. I know employment isn't always in your control. However, I think they're pretty transparent when it comes to weekly check-ins, performance reviews, and annual discussions, stuff like that. So if you've reached this part of the video, you might be asking yourself, is startup life for everyone? Me personally, I don't think so. I think there are a lot of people out there who function better in a larger company because the environment is very, very different. Obviously, different people might have different goals when it comes to, job expectations, security, availability, responsibilities, deadlines, stuff like that. So if you're not a right fit, it could be a very, very bad experience for you. However, if you do think you're a good fit and want to work in a startup, I personally recommend resources like Y Combinator to get started and stay up to date. I tend to follow a lot of startup pages on LinkedIn, and I also have built some connections when it comes to influential people in the startup space. Also, I'll leave some additional resources down below for those of you who are interested to check it out. That's about it for this video. I hope you guys found some value. I know a lot of you guys are looking for startup opportunities, and I want to share my personal experience so that you guys can have more information before making that decision. Obviously, my experiences are unique and personal to me, so to those of you who are currently working at a startup or have worked at a startup before, feel free to share your own unique experiences down below. The best advice I can give to anyone who's interested in working at a startup is to have a growth mindset, essentially just be a sponge and always be willing to adapt to new situations. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to leave them down below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.